Hi and welcome to today's video. My name is Paul. So this week, as you can see, a chance to do a bit of watercolor landscape painting. In this little painting session I did 4 paintings. In this video you'll see me doing one of those paintings. But towards the end of the video I will show all 4, just for comparison, for interest maybe. The day I painted these, it was a rainy day. It was one of those days where you wake up in the morning, it's raining, and when you go to bed at night, it's still raining. It rained. It was a Friday, and it started raining on the Thursday night. It rained right through until early Saturday morning. So it was quite a wet Friday. And it sort of, I guess, inspired me to try and do a landscape where it's maybe raining. It's not something I usually do. I usually stick to bright, sunny landscapes because they're sort of happy and uplifting. But I wanted to try other atmospheric effects and different weather effects. So I was, I guess, slightly out of my comfort zone in terms of the way I was going to paint this. I wasn't sure exactly how I was going to paint it. And you'll see that, especially on the right hand side of this sort of horizon line, you can see me changing part of it. And I keep going back to this one part of the painting and changing it. And then I change again and again. I think in this little 6-minute video, I probably changed that part of the painting at least 3 times. So it got me thinking about this idea of overworking a painting. Certainly a phrase I've heard people using. You go onto YouTube, you'll see lots of videos about how to avoid overworking your painting. So it got me thinking, when I see things like that, I start to think, well, okay, what does overworking a painting actually mean? So again, went onto the internet and found that actually there isn't a single definition of that phrase. Or for that phrase. Different people seem to have slightly different ideas about what it actually means. I say slightly different, I'm being generous. It's actually quite different ideas. There isn't much agreement about what that phrase actually means in practice. Which makes me think that if you hear the phrase being used about your own art, maybe take it with a big pinch of salt. Anyway, some of the definitions I found, number 1 was, and this is applicable in my case. So the artist is struggling with a particular part of the painting. They keep going back to it, reworking it. And in the final version of the painting, this may show up in some way. So that's the first definition. A second definition is to do with the amount of information, the amount of detail in the painting. So one way of looking at art, certainly the way that I like to look at art, is that it's a form of communication between you and the person who's viewing your artwork. And you have to give them some information, unless you just want to present a blank piece of paper or a blank canvas. You have to present some sort of information to the viewer, to give them something to work with. But on the other hand, if you give them too much, it can be confusing. It can be, what am I looking at? What am I supposed to be looking at? How am I supposed to feel? It can be overload or overloading for the viewer. So that's another way of defining this, overworking a painting. A third definition I found was to do with the amount of pigment, or at least the number of different pigments that you put onto the paper. So if you put too many different colors together, they're going to start mixing. Certainly in watercolor, if you're doing wet style painting, which what I'm doing here, you'll get the different pigments running together and mixing on the paper. And if you have too many colors doing that, you can end up with sort of muddy, grey, muddy sort of patches on your painting, which are probably not that attractive. You certainly lose the vibrancy of the individual pigments when you put too many of them close to each other and they all start to merge together. So that's a third way of defining this idea of overworking a painting. There may be others out there as well, other definitions. I gave up after 3. But as I say, it's not a well-defined term. It can mean different things to different people. So if anybody was to describe your artwork as overworked, as I said, I would take it with a big pinch of salt, because does the person using that phrase actually know what they mean? And what exactly do they mean? Which definition of overworking are they using? It's all kind of subjective in art. We all have different tastes. We like different things. Some people like paintings with lots and lots of details. Other people like paintings that have almost no details, which is what I prefer. And it's all okay. It's okay to be different and have different tastes. These are the 4 paintings I did in that little painting session. So the one that you saw in the video was the bottom left. The top 2 are more standard in terms of the color palette. So it's my usual blue and yellow. And I do like this cadmium yellow. It can really lift a painting. It's a sort of happy color. And it does, I think the different colors can affect the mood of the person viewing the painting. So if you're using happy colors, it can have a more positive effect on the viewer, I think. But the cadmium yellow, I often think of it as kind of liquid sunshine. It suggests bright, sunny, warm, sunny days. And when you're trying to do a rainy landscape or a winter landscape, for example, that cadmium yellow is maybe not going to work as well. So that's why in this painting I decided not to use it and use more blues and purples instead, the colder colors. Okay, well, I guess the main message in this video, apart from me just rambling on, was maybe don't take it too seriously if people say your painting is overworked. There's a very good chance that they don't know what they're talking about. And who knows what definition of overworked they're working with. So take it all with a pinch of salt. Just do your thing. Keep going. Remember, not every painting session is going to be fantastic and wonderful. I'm not overly happy with most of these paintings, but it's all part of the learning process. If you made it this far in the video, thank you for watching and listening, and hopefully see you again in next week's video.